prospects, zones, with individual countries and with regional organizations. With the EU in particular, Europe is a key strategic partner. We want to find new ways to expand our trade ties and investment opportunities. We need to remove barriers for trade. We need to upgrade our legal framework, especially in energy as a key sector. That should be a cooperation based on respect for mutual interests. And that, of course, will define the stability of the whole Eurasian space. And, of course, the stable and steady development of our economies. We're always invested into natural gas infrastructure together with the EU authorities. We built a Nord Stream pipeline along the bed of the North Sea. And, of course, despite the barriers, we will push for the South Stream project to be implemented. And of course, we all understand that the EU is being used by someone, that it's become the victim of a short-sighted approach. And Ukraine has breached its obligations in terms of buying gas, and they have failed to pay for the gas. They have not paid for November and December, and this is completely unacceptable. Our partners are resorting to blackmail. They want a decrease in price, completely unjustified. Although the contract was signed in 2009, that was implemented in good faith. And as you know, the Ukrainian court has lifted all of the charges against former Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko, which signed this contract. So it means that the Ukrainian judiciary acknowledged that the contract is in line with international law and with the Ukrainian law, but still they don't want to pay for that, they don't want to deliver on their commitments. Since starting from June the 16th, we've switched to advance payments, and so they will only receive as much gas as they pay for. At the moment, they don't get anything from us. They only get natural gas on the so-called reverse supplies. Well, but actually, there's no reverse. You cannot push gas using the same pipe backwards. You don't need to be an expert in natural gas to understand that it's not possible. They are using our natural gas and they pay for that. We are aware of that. We're not taking any steps at the moment, just not to escalate the situation. But of course, we all need to learn the lessons. But good faith consumers and good faith suppliers should not be held a victim and prisoners in this situation. But we all need to think of how to minimize different political economic risks and to avoid different force majeures. In August 2015, we will mark the 40-year anniversary of the final acts of the OSCE. This anniversary not only gives us an opportunity to go back to the founding principles of our cooperation on the continent, but also we need to ensure that they are part of the European policy, that they are effective. We need to make sure that there are no unconstitutional coups on the European continent. There are no interference from the outside. There is no promotion of radical and neo-Nazi forces. We all need some safety net so that there's no repeat of the Iraq, of Libya, of the Syrian scenario, and also the Ukrainian. This shouldn't become a contagion that would spread around Europe. It's especially dangerous for the post-Soviet countries, because these countries are fragile politically, economically. They don't have a stable, sustainable political system. So it's crucial to respect the constitutional foundation of these countries. So why is it important generally, not just in the CIS countries, but in Europe as a whole? Because even in the countries of Eastern and Western Europe, where seemingly things are okay, there are a lot of hidden ethnic and social differences which could escalate, which could give rise to extremism, and could be used, exploited by external forces. They could rock the boat and could lead to the toppling of the government in an illegal way, and then we could all see the negative ramifications. We need to provide guarantees of indivisible security. We need to respect each other. This should be the foundation. And from that, we could proceed to building a common humanitarian, cultural, economic space from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean. I talked about that as a single common space from Lisbon to Vladivostok. And I urged the Foreign Ministry to come up with recommendations to implement this concept. Our main goal is to use the main principle of non-interference and to put it inside the European policy framework. We need to increase our cooperation with the Asian countries and to focus more on the Asia-Pacific. Of course, that would help us to develop the Far East and Siberia. The policy of Russia in the Asia-Pacific should be built on the protection of our eastern borders, on ensuring the stability in the region, and Russia will share the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And in the summer of June 2015, we will host in the city of Ufa the summits of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and BRICS. We need to increase our cooperation with China. We are seeing a close diplomatic duo between Russia and China. We both share the same opinions on a variety of diplomatic situations. We are not cooperating against someone. We are not building any blocks. It's a vivid example of a very productive cooperation based on mutual respect and cooperation. We want to develop our relations with our traditional partners, India and Vietnam, who are playing an increasing role in the world. We'll cooperate with other countries in ASEAN, in Latin America, in Africa. We will, of course, rely on our huge experience in terms of cultural and economic ties. And, of course, our ties with the US. We don't want to isolate. Bilateral relations are not at its high, but it's not because of Russia. We always wanted to be a predictable partner. We've always wanted to build our relationship on an equitable basis. But instead, our legitimate concerns and interests have been ignored. Another point I would like to make, as for different multilateral formats and meetings, if we are given the role of just an observer who have no say over vital areas, then actually we're not interested very much in these multilateral formats. We shouldn't sacrifice and compromise our national interests for the right of just sitting nearby those leaders. And I think the Western partners should realize that. We often hear ultimatums, we're often being lectured, but we are ready for a constructive dialogue, but only on an equitable basis. Colleagues, the situation in the world is very complicated, and of course Russian diplomats should be highly qualified. As for the situation in Ukraine and Crimea, Russian mission abroad have been acting in a concerted way. I'd like to thank you for that. And also very much appreciate the work of our permanent representatives at the UN and other international organizations. We should work in the same dignified and determined fashion. We should be patient and have this sense of proportion. We should rely on the arguments which are non-negotiable. We should rely on the moral strength. And of course, the leadership of Russia will do everything to make sure that you can conduct your own activities. And we signed an executive order to increase the wages by 1.4 times. And the pensions for retired ambassadors will grow by 3.5%. And of course, we will continue to increase the pensions starting from 2016, but that increase will be a 4-time increase. And I'm sure that that will help to increase the efficiency of Russia's foreign policy. We would also like to urge the Russian government to provide additional guarantees to other agencies, to the technical staff who work at foreign missions, especially in the face of terrorist threats. Of course, diplomatic service needs to be codified as a special kind of service for the Russian Federation. We'll consider these remarks. So the first part is now over. I would like to thank the media for the attention. But the remainder will be said behind closed doors.